What's going on, everybody? My name is Eric, and I'm back with another podcast episode here for the league winners. My co-host Will is going to be joining me shortly for the discussion section of this video, but first, I'm going to walk you through a quick prospect profile of one of the most exciting and polarizing running backs in this entire draft class, and that's Tyjae Spears. Tyjae came to the combine and measured in at 5'10", 201 pounds. The threshold that typically needs to be met or surpassed in order for a running back to be considered ideal weight coming into the NFL is around 215 pounds. So we're talking about a fairly substantially undersized back right off the bat. For context, there have only been 10 running backs to weigh 205 pounds or less and finish inside the top 24 at their position in half PPR scoring over the last 5 years. The usual suspects, Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey, did it the most, finishing inside the top 24 4 and 3 times respectively. None of the remaining 8 backs accomplished this feat more than twice, and the names are a little less than inspiring. We're talking Devin Singletary, James White, Phillip Lindsay, Jerick McKinnon, Nyheim Hines, J.D. McKissic, Raheem Mostert, and Tariq Cohen. So, at his size, it'll be an uphill battle for Spears to become a fantasy-relevant running back, but with the league becoming more spread out and pass-heavy year over year, I do expect to see a lot more undersized backs given opportunities, so I wouldn't consider Tyjae's size to be a death knell yet. Let's talk about some of his positive attributes that make me think he could be an outlier. Spears has exceptional contact balance. As you can see from this table created by Arjun Menon, who, by the way, is a great Twitter follow for all your advanced analytical needs, Spears is second in this class in yards after contact per attempt, and fourth in that metric out of the last 4 draft classes. He's also fifth in this class in missed tackles forced per attempt. And even more impressive, the other running backs in the top 5 of those metrics with him have an average weight of about 215 pounds. Again, Tyjae is only 201 pounds, and yet he's breaking tackles and gaining extra yards at a rate even with or better than these much bigger backs. Another area where he excels is in explosive run rate. He's third in the class in that category, and in the 96th percentile of backs in the last 5 draft classes. And according to Tej Seth, another really good data-centric Twitter follow, explosive run rate is one of the most predictive metrics of NFL rushing success. Its R-squared correlation is significantly higher for college production to NFL production than rushing yards over expected and yards per carry. So Spears is a tackle-breaking machine who rips off a lot of big runs. On top of that, he's got a pretty decent receiving profile as well. He's top 5 in the class in yards per route run and has tallied 41 receptions for over 400 yards over the last 2 seasons. He also has this uncanny start-stop ability, which I'm pretty sure you've noticed in these highlights I've been playing. His acceleration from 0 to full speed is unreal. So those were some of his best traits. Now let's talk about some things that I think could hold him back at the next level. First off, for a guy his size to be successful in the NFL, they typically need to be a top-tier athlete in terms of speed and agility. Spears came to the combine and only participated in the vertical and the broad jump. Now, he did excel in both of those, which gives even more credence to that stop-start ability that we saw on tape, but at his pro day, he had a really disappointing performance. He ran a 4.54 in the 40, a 4.32 in the shuttle, and a 7.27 in the 3-cone. For reference, Stetson Bennett ran a faster shuttle, and Max Duggan ran a faster 3-cone than Tyjae did. As you can see here on Player Profiler, Spears grades out with a speed score in the 30th percentile and an agility score in the 28th percentile. Small and unathletic, relative to other NFL backs, is a pretty bad combo. On top of that, I think he also lacks the vision and decision-making to be a consistent runner. I'm mostly referring to his ability to navigate the line of scrimmage and execute his runs prior to reaching the second level. If you want a really in-depth look at this portion of Tyjae's game, I would highly recommend going to NoahMoreParties.com. Noah Hills is one of the best running back evaluators in the game right now, and he just recently put out 2 articles about Spears, one of which specifically details his struggles as an in-between-the-tackles runner. I won't give too much away because these articles are behind a paywall, as they deserve to be, but according to Noah's vision and decision-making metrics, Tyjae grades out as one of the worst in the class. So, now that you've heard my take, let's bring in my co-host Will to see what his perspective is on Tyjae Spears, and also for us to discuss where we think you should be taking him in your upcoming rookie drafts. All right, and we're into the discussion section. Will is now here. How you doing?
Hey man, I'm feeling good. Ready to talk some running backs. Ready to talk some Tyjae Spears.
Heck yeah, me too. But really quickly, before we get into the discussion, now that we're partnered with League Winners, we're also partnered with Underdog Fantasy. They're one of the best places you can go if you're looking for, having fun sports betting, whether that be on best ball tournaments, on player props, or even one that I like a lot is to get prepared for the upcoming fantasy season. I like to use best ball drafts, kind of like mock drafts, because in your typical mock draft site, a lot of people are unserious. They bail halfway through the draft, or they start making unserious picks. But because these best ball drafts are a couple dollars to enter, people are more serious. You get a better idea of where these guys are actually going. And then also, if you're good at it, you can make some money at the end of the season. So I would highly recommend going over to Underdog Fantasy and using our promo code FFLW as a first-time depositor to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So please go check out Underdog and use our code FFLW at sign up for a 100% deposit match. And yeah, just go enjoy it, man. So, with that being said, we're talking Tyjae Spears. I went on my big rant. I'm curious to hear what you have to say now, Will.
So I mirror a lot of the same sentiments that you do about Tyjae Spears. I feel like as a change of pace back, he's kind of built perfectly for that role. In terms of him being a workhorse, I don't know if he'll ever be able to get that kind of role in the NFL just due to his size and just due to the skill set that he does have. Between the tackles, he is one of those guys who he's decent between the tackles. His vision could get a little bit better, so he is kind of average in that department. But when it comes to, lateral quickness, stuff like that, that's sort of where I guess his bread and butter is in terms of himself as a player. I know he didn't measure out great like that at the combine as well. But in terms of like his 40-yard dash time, I think he ran at his pro day, he ran a 4.54 at his pro day. So in terms of speed, again, he's not a blazer, not a burner. He's somebody who's going to go out there and do what he needs to do. And I do think like he's going to end up getting some decent draft capital. I'm not sure where he's going to land at. I think his landing spot could be super important as to how he pans out as a player. But also, if he were to just land as a change of pace back somewhere, I think he still would get a decent role with that team.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think, like you mentioned, draft capital for a lot of these running backs, but Tyjae specifically is going to be really important for him. And landing spot, something that I mentioned in the Noah Hills article, he goes into detail about gap scheme versus zone scheme when it comes to Tyjae. And I think that he does fit in better in a gap scheme where he doesn't have to make as many decisions. It's kind of clear cut what the decision is to be made, and you just got to hit that hole. So if he goes to a team where that's the MO, he can succeed more so probably in like a 1A or 1B situation in a committee. If he goes to a zone scheme, I think he's probably more just relegated to kind of a scat back role. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make a lot of sense because his decision-making does need a lot of work. It does need a good amount of work. But if he were to make it somewhere where they can dumb down the decisions for him and he can just do what he needs to do with his skill set, he could make that happen.
100%. Yeah, I see him kind of in a similar mold to like what we saw out of Jerick McKinnon this season, or maybe even if you go further back to like a Deion Lewis, back in his New England Patriots days, he was actually pretty good for fantasy. And crazy enough, he like relegated Derrick Henry to the bench for a little bit in Tennessee when he came over there, which I thought was crazy. But he can fill that type of role.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that happening. But in terms of like how we have him ranked as a running back prospect amongst these other rookies, where do you have him landing at?
It's a good question. Because of his size, like we've talked about, and the fact that I think that makes him less of a sure thing, I have him right around like 7 or 8, behind a lot of the other bigger backs that I think also have good skill sets. Just set them up probably for a higher probability of success. Guys like Kendre Miller, Roschon Johnson. Obviously, the Charbonnets and the Bijans are way ahead of him, but probably close to like the Devin A-Chain territory, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He's somewhere around like 7 for me as well. In terms of running back prospects, yeah, there's people that he's clearly ranks above. There's people he's clearly behind. So he is somewhere in that little middle ground right there. So yeah, I think 7 is a good spot.
Yeah, I like that. So with that being said, when we get to our actual rookie drafts and we're on the clock, where do you think is a good spot to be taking him?
I would say, depending on whether you're playing in a league that's like tight end premium or not, it shouldn't shake things up too much. He should be somewhere in that like mid to late second round, I feel like, in terms of being a
Also,
prospect.
Superflex is typically the setting that we use.
Superflex
That includes
also,
all the
yeah.
quarterbacks. That's going to bump him back. But yeah, if that's what you're talking about, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Superflex, tight end premium. I would say he's somewhere like mid to late second round. What would you think?
Yeah, I was looking through kind of the list of players. There's probably about 21 guys in front of him right now, if I was being super specific. Again, draft capital landing spot is going to change a lot for all of these players, so that could change quite a bit as we get into draft season. But as it stands now, it's probably about 21 other dudes that I'd take before him, so the end of the second round is where I would be looking for him.
Yeah, I say that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was quick, but that was kind of the idea. I hope you guys learned a lot about Tyjae Spears, and you can take this information into your upcoming rookie drafts. If you enjoyed this video, I think that you guys would also like a lot of the other work that people at League Winners are doing right now. All of our teammates over there writing a bunch of articles and things like that. So head on over to theleaguewinners.com to check out some of those amazing articles and more podcasts from us. Also, if you're interested in seeing more from us specifically, you can see our personal podcast by going over to YouTube and checking out the FF Ballbusters. That's the name of our podcast. We've been pumping out Dynasty and redraft content at least twice a week, every week since August. So we're just trying to grow, enjoying the ride. If you're interested, go over to our YouTube, hit subscribe, and we would really, really appreciate it. Will, you got anything else to say before we head out here?
Nah, just do all that great YouTube stuff. Leave a like, comment, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Really, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, and we love you. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.